Losses from Superstorm Sandy could reach $20 billion. Some experts are saying that it could be even more. So here's the question. Can you look at the jobs that will be created and the money that will be spent as a boost for the economy? Jeff Cleveland is senior economist with Payden Regal. He says no. Lance Roberts is the CEO and chief economist at Street Advisors, and he disagrees. Thank you both for being here. Jeff, I want to start with you because I do think that you get an economic boom from all this. For example, I mean, last weekend as the storm was coming in, I went into stores all over the New York area trying to get flashlights, battery, water. The shelves were picked clean. People were fighting over stuff, and they were buying things that they wouldn't normally buy. How is that not a boost to the economy?
You know what, Melissa, I think it comes down to focusing on what is seen, all the purchases that people make, and ignoring what is not seen. And in this case, it would be what you would have spent that money on otherwise. And so I think a lot of analysts that put forth a spending figure for the impact of the storm ignore the counterfactual, what they would have spent that money on if they didn't have to go down to the store and gobble up all the batteries off the shelves. That's the real problem here.
I don't know, Lance, do you agree with that? I mean, if I hadn't been in the store buying batteries, I would have been at the park playing with my kids. I mean, we still ate. We still, did all the other things that we would have done. I just also had to stock up for this storm.
Well, yeah, and the thing here is we're talking about a short-term impact and a long-term issue. On the short term, this is going to be about a $20 billion. I went back and looked at previous hurricanes of this size, and they average about $20 billion in damage. So we're going to see that hit the economy on the short term in terms of people restocking, rebuilding, restructuring their homes, refurnishing, their houses where they lost their furniture, buying the food that they need to replace in the refrigerators that they lost. So yes, we're going to get a short-term impact to the economy of about 0.5% through the end of the year as people just restructure from this. But Jeffrey's right. In the long term, we're rebuilding what we already built. So the long term of this is that we are borrowing money from the future. So this is going to show up down the road and hit the economy again from a lack of growth side.
I don't know, but Jeff,
so it really plays both ways.
I mean, isn't there a multiplier effect? If you spend money in the short term, you put people to work, they go out and spend money. I mean, the government is great at spending money it doesn't have. If it does that once again now, this could be like the shovel-ready jobs that never materialized, because the problem with that program was that it didn't happen. I mean, they never put that money to work. They just distributed it to the states, and it sort of disappeared into the couch cushions of, government mansions around the country. This is like real. We're really going to go out and build stuff.
Well, I think this is a subset of that other problem that relates. So this is really important economic problem to grasp. And, the way I think of it, Melissa, if you say, hey, I want to really reboost or spark economic growth, I'm going to come over to your house, Jeffrey, I'm going to break the window. And now you have to, replace that window. So suddenly the window maker has a job and he can spend that money on down the road. The problem with that is I didn't want to spend money to replace the window. I wanted to buy a new suit. And so the suit maker is now out of cash. Yeah. So yeah, there are ripple effects, but you're just redirecting them. You're not actually creating
I guess. I mean, the only thing is that, Lance, I filed a claim for that window. I mean, I still went out and bought a suit. My insurance company paid for that window. So that's commerce.
Well, it is. And, you spoke about deficit spending a moment ago. And, look, one of the problems that we have in this country right now, one of the reasons why we can't get economic growth going more than about 2% is because of the deficit that we're running. Deficits have a negative impact on the economy. So long term, that isn't a good measure. And, again, if it was a good idea to go around and basically destroying property to create economic growth, well, why don't we just go blow up a few cities and we can have a lot of economic growth? The real issue is that we need productive commerce over time, not replacement commerce, but long term. Now we're talking about long term,
like how, Lance?
Years from now.
How can we do that?
We need productive commerce. In the short term, we're going to get about a 0.5% bump to GDP. Long term, it's a different issue.
Jeff, what do you think is the short or long term way that we get the economy rolling again if it's not a big storm like Sandy?
I think really, where does prosperity come from? Not from destructing things and building them back up. It comes from getting together, getting good ideas, and figuring out how to do things more productively. So it's going to come on the investment side of the economy, Melissa. That's really what we've been watching. Investment activity from businesses has suffered, certainly in the last 3 or 4 years, but that's what I look to come back for longer-term growth. You need investment in order to have prosperity.
So, Jeff, you don't think that companies out there are going to look at everything that's happened in this storm and invent new flood walls and invent new ways to generate power when the power goes out in your house and invent new flashlights for me to go buy? I mean, maybe there'll be some innovations that come as a result of the destruction we've seen, and I'll go buy those things, and that would be a boost to the economy, no?
That's what's great about human ingenuity. We find ways, we adapt, we overcome obstacles. So no doubt that'll happen. But Melissa, that would have happened anyway. We would have found other ways to devote our time and energy and coming up with new, great, wonderful things to share with the world. And instead, we're going to have to build things back up.
No, because I wouldn't have cared about a generator before this. Anyway, you guys are a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.